What's going on, everybody? Exceptional Gabe here, back with another edition of Exceptionally Animated. And today I've got the true queen of voiceover in Toronto. Please welcome the legendary Julie Lemieux. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Gabe. What an introduction.
Mm-hmm.
Happy to be here.
So, how have you been doing lately?
I've been doing good. You
That's
know,
good.
in spite of our crazy world, I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
Oh, I've been great. Just continuing to try to spread positivity by doing this podcast and, spread autism awareness because there's so many people who are just touched by voice actors and other people in the animation industry.
That's wonderful.
So, the first question I always ask with these podcasts is not only how did you get into voice acting, but what was your first ever voiceover role in the industry?
So I studied to be I thought I was going to be a serious actress, but the world had other other things in mind for me. So I took a class with Deb Toffin, who you might have heard of.
Mhm.
And she brought me in for my first couple of auditions, which were Tintin and then Rupert. And that's how I broke in. And then, once a door is open, at the time it was very hard to get in the room for an audition. They only had a select number of people. Now, of course, everything's self-taped, so it's easier to get seen or heard, I should say, by someone. But at the time, it was very, very hard. So Deb brought me in. That's not why I took the class. That was a nice byproduct. I wanted to learn. My first voice gig was actually in French. I did a show called a puppet show called where I voiced a male puppet called Piccoli, and it was called Piccoli et les Rabots. That was my first voice gig, as a playing a character. And then shortly thereafter, I booked Tintin and a role on Tintin and Rupert.
Mhm. And since French is your native language, I'm curious, are you originally from Montreal?
I was born in a small town in Quebec and then moved to Montreal. Yes.
Okay, very cool. So you brought up Rupo. Obviously, that was probably one of your first major voiceover roles. Rupo has to be one of the most beautiful shows Nelvana ever done. It's such a great adaptation of the book, and it's a perfect example of a show that is just so comforting for people on the spectrum. It's just such a beautiful series.
I agree. I think everything about it. I mean, they tried obviously to do it true to the Daily Express cartoon comic strips and the annuals and the music. Everything about it was very beautiful, and it was such a as my first major role in an animated series. It was amazing. I got to work ensemble with all kinds of amazing actors. I felt so blessed to what a great start. I felt like I hit the ground running. I learned so much about what it means to be a voice actor, and I knew there and then that I wanted to spend my life doing that. It was a beautiful, beautiful show. It's still, I have to say, my favorite show of all the shows I've ever done.
That's amazing. And these two shows I put in that same category as Rupert, as they're also very, calming shows and beautiful. I'm curious, did you have any like small roles in Little Bill or Franklin?
Um, I can't remember. I think I did, but very small. I think I did, probably one role on either of those shows. That's about it. Yeah, but they are beautiful shows as well, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And you were also in, if I'm not mistaken, the Busy World of Richard Scarry. You were in the original and Busy Town Mysteries as well.
Yes, I played a number of roles. The first one I had a few small parts, but then I was Pig Will and Hilda Hippo and other assorted characters on the Busy Town Mysteries, which was a really fun show to be a part of. I got to work with Richard Binsley every time, who was uh, the other pig. And yeah, it was so much fun. I really loved it.
I've got to interview Richard as well. He's also wonderful.
He's funny. You must
uh,
have had a
it,
good time.
I do know I've interviewed countless of voice actors in Toronto, and unfortunately, it sounds like ensemble recordings are kind of rare in Toronto recordings.
Well, in the heyday of animation, when things were really, really busy, it was hard to get people in the room together. So that's why on many shows people worked individually. They just couldn't manage the schedules to get people in the room at the same time. Then, of course, COVID hit and everybody worked from their whatever their space was in their home, and or is, I should say, because that's kind of continued in some ways in terms of auditions. But so that and that I mean, I think on maybe a couple of shows it's come back, but for the most part it's gone away, and it's a great loss because obviously we are social animals. We when you're in the room and you see what choice an actor makes, as opposed to guessing what choice they might make or being guided that way by a voice director, it's immediate when you see the choice and you react to it. So obviously, I think the work is so much better when you get to be work with others, and there's so much joy, and there's always been great camaraderie and fun in a room. So I miss that.
Mm-hmm. And thinking of Richard Binsley, this is another show you worked on with him, and this is probably one of my favorite shows you were in. You were in Birds with a Z, to
Oh,
make it more hip.
oh, that was a one season wonder that should have gone for 30. Unbelievable show, musical in every episode, so well written. Larry Jacobs, creator of that show, director, genius. And the entire cast, the characters were so great. I played Sleepy, and even being given the kind of, when I remember going in for the audition, and I made immediate choices because it was clear to me he was the only one who, of course, was nocturnal and during was supposed to be sleeping during the day. So in class was always like, well, so I made these big choices in terms of constantly being startled awake. Such a fun show. It was, yeah, that is one of my favorite shows. So I'm glad you brought it up. One
Yeah,
season for CBS. Yeah.
it's so underrated, and Larry Jacobs, I absolutely love his animation style. It almost looks like a storybook, a real life storybook with all the additional lines. It's beautiful.
It really is. I'm glad you like it. It's a
Hmm.
beautiful show.
And Sleepy Bear had the most adorable voice. Like he had this cute little rasp, but I loved it.
Thank you.
And Susan Roman obviously was in that show as well, and Susan Roman kind of had the raspy voice as well for
Hmm.
her main character.
Yes, I adore Susan. Susan and I have worked together on many, many shows. She's extremely talented. That was a
Mhm.
great show. And she was, my God, what was her character's name?
Eddie.
Eddie, of course. That was a great character.
Mhm. And I'm curious, can you still do that raspy voice all these years later?
No. Yeah.
um, and you had that same kind of raspy voice as Bounce in Miss Spider, which was another beautiful show.
I love that one as well. Yeah, that's a funny show. I remember going in to, because all of the child bugs were played by child actors, and they were looking for someone to play Bounce because Bounce is a bed bug, I guess, and they were hoping to have some comic relief. And I remember going in for my audition, and I got the sense that I wasn't in the first round. And because I'm French, people would often at auditions greet me with, "Hello, Julie Lemieux." And so I often gave it back, like, "Hello, ba da da da." And so Jesse Thompson, who was in the audition and also voice directing the show, said, "Why don't you try this because of that little exchange in that moment as a mini Jean Chrétien?" And I thought, odd choice, but I'll go with it. And I don't know if you know who Jean Chrétien is. He's a former prime minister who Quebecer who spoke with a fairly thick accent. And so I did that. And when I got it in the show, they kind of asked me to sort of slide it so that it's not exactly recognizable between Spanish and French, but it worked. I remember when I saw the first movie, when the movie was released and we all got to go to a viewing of it, I thought, oh my God, it actually worked, that voice. Because I was thinking, is this going to be really weird next to all the kids? But it fit. It was beautiful.
And I just love that show's message of diversity of how, you can have all of these bugs that, look
Hmm.
different, but, they're all, very similar. They're all people. Well, not people, but you know what I mean.
I do. I do. That was the great thing that Miss Spider took in everyone, that it was that everyone was welcome, everyone was treated equally, and even even a bed bug was treated as a part of the family. It was a very beautiful. Got to meet the author of the books as well at that. We went to the viewing of the movie. I think his name is David Kirk. What a great man, and just really beautiful. Again, very the music, everything about that show. Very funny, very touching. It was really wonderful.
Mhm. So another show based off of a book series. This one, I think you're only in a couple episodes. Do you remember doing the Dumb Bunnies?
Oh yeah, but again, that was for me. I remember Dwayne Hill was in that. For me, I'm very tiny. I couldn't even tell you what I played in it. How's that?
According to IMDb, you voiced Margaret and Bunny Little.
Okay.
And this is another fantastic show at Nirvana. Very beautiful. You were in Redwall.
Hmm. I played the evil Sella in Redwall. Yeah.
And that's one of the few villain characters you got to voice over your career. How did it feel playing a villain?
I'd love to say that it's terrible, but it actually feels really quite wonderful to play a villain. And there's something, especially if they get, in real life, villains don't necessarily meet a terrible end, but maybe they do. We just don't see it. Karma can be but supposedly. But in animation, of course, villains usually meet, get their have their moment of redemption and where they get their comeuppance. So, but there's something very. I mean, I've always loved playing characters with a lot of heart, and to try and find the heart in a villain is kind of a fun thing to find their, so that it's not just one-sided. But Cello, I think might have been, no, I did voice a bunch of evil women on Sailor Moon, but that was it was also the beginnings, because I used to do, when I first started, I did a lot of boy voices or smaller voices. And that I think was one of the first characters I did where I actually played a female adult character.
hmm And since you mentioned Sailor Moon, that was probably one of the biggest shows you've ever been a part of. And I think also one of your first ADR roles. Is that correct?
Uh, Prior to that, I think I did Keroppi and Hello Kitty and a couple of others. I think they were all around the same time, but I think it might have been just before that.
Okay. And you voiced so many characters in Sailor Moon, like most notably you got to voice Sailor Moon's brother, I believe.
I did, yeah.
hmm
I like to say I'm the only character in Sailor Moon who thought that Sailor Moon was a dweeb. Well, that's because I didn't know she was Sailor Moon. But, I just had, Sammy was never really that impressed with his sister.
And when you were recording for that show back in the day, did you ever, think like how big of an impact this show would have?
Not at all. Never. Not for one moment. No.
And would you say ADR is more challenging than pre-labor coding?
Absolutely, because first of all, back in the day, we worked with something called Rhythmoband. I don't know if you know what that is. So all dubbing was done that way. Very laborious project where someone would have to do it's called detection, where they would have to like take the reel and basically put in all the vowels, all the consonants, and then someone would then translate the script and then fit it into that, so that, and then it was this band that went, there'd be the visual and a band, and then you had to work with that to fit the dialogue into its slot. So it's very much like music. You had to get a rhythm to hit it. And some days you'd be like, honestly, you'd be like, open your mouth, and it's already gone. So it's much harder than obviously creating something, because you're fitting. But once you get fitting it into a very specific slot, but once you get it, there is something, however, that's easier about working two picture because you have a visual as opposed to how regular animation is done, where it's just you and the script and someone to guide you who has the storyboard. So there's pluses to both sides.
Mm-hmm. And you got to do so many other animes. You were in Beyblade, where you voiced Dizzy in Mariah. And by the way, Mariah was one of the cutest characters ever.
I love Mariah. Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm. And you were in a Bakugan, of course.
Hmm.
Um, and who did you voice in Bakugan again?
Bruno was my first. I voiced many characters, an Oracle, if I remember correctly, but Bruno was my first major character, and I think Dan Kuzo's first love interest. Where really they fought the whole time. Bruno just yelled at him. Really,
And of course, you were in my favorite anime of all time. You were in Metabots.
that was fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, season one, Samantha Reynolds played Iki, and then she left to go study in California. And at that point, I think I was already playing 10 roles on Metabots, and then I auditioned and got to replace her, and or maybe 10 roles, yeah. And that was my 11th. That was insane. That show, it was fun.
Mm-hmm. And I know, obviously, you voiced Pepper Cat. Do you remember some of the other roles you voiced besides
Oh,
Pepper Cat
God.
and Icky?
Oh, there was a squid thing. The evil, there was like a threesome. Oh no, that was Pepper Cat, right? Oh no, Pepper Cat was no. Oh my God, look at my brain. There was a really evil woman on that one, but I can't remember her name. There were a lot of the Metabots themselves. Pepper Cat was a Metabot,
Yeah.
and I can't remember her name. As we go, it's going to come back to me, and I'm going to scream it out.
Did you also voice Icky's mom at one point?
I did. I know. Isn't that funny? I remember doing a scene with myself. Yeah, just doing it like doop doop back and forth. And
And also, I think you voiced Neutrinos, which was another Metabot.
yes, yes, I did.
Mm-hmm. And was that a challenge too? I know in many of your shows you voiced multiple characters in the same show. Is it a challenge going back and forth between the same character?
I loved it. I've all well, I guess it's my own undiagnosed ADHD. The moment I had challenges like that, I I felt I came alive. Like I just loved being able to even record and flip back and forth in the record. Loved it. So no, I saw it as I don't know. I just saw it as a great opportunity and so much fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And another good example was in Woli Poly Oli. You got to voice both Kuchi and Ku.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Uh,
That was,
and that's another good thing I noticed on your resume. You voiced so many baby characters over your
yeah.
career.
Yeah. So that's like I have to say. I mean, I'm limiting myself here, but doing young male voices was how I broke into animation. Still one of my favorite things. But beyond that, doing babies and elderly women, I'm headed that way now. But we're always my like grandmothers and babies, the polar opposites. I always had such a good time doing that and trying to make them all a bit different, right? And infuse so much personality into it.
Mhm. And this is going to show you my knowledge right here. Besides Kuchi and Ku, you also voiced Max, Zach, and Oscar in Maggie and the Ferocious Beast. You voiced
Yes,
Baby Ethan in Braceface. And you voiced, what was his name? You voiced the baby in Joe Swings. Baby Skylar, that was her name.
right.
Yeah.
And I also voiced the new babies in the last episode, Z or episode, I can't remember, of Max and Ruby, where they have new babies in the family. I don't know. I know that's in the last. That was one. That was maybe 6 years ago. So,
Hmm. And Max and Ruby, I think it's safe to say that was probably the show you were on for the longest over your career.
mhm, I think so. Yes,
Hmm.
loved
And
it. Loved it.
and you know there were so many people who came and went. Like Max and Ruby had at least like 4 or 5 different voice actors throughout their
Yes,
careers, and Louise stayed the same throughout like the entire show. That's amazing.
yes. Well, the I think when you're a supporting character, you don't. It doesn't have. Well, obviously, Max's voice kept changing because it's normal. Pardon me. To that you're going to change. That a young boy's voice is going to change and go a bit down and register. So they'll have to recast. As to the number of rubies, I think sometimes the lead role in a show has a lot of scrutiny on it. So who knows? I'm not privy to why so many people were played that role, but I have to say it was a delight working with all of them.
Hmm. And I know obviously Katie Griffin was the OG Ruby.
Hmm.
In
Love
fact,
Katie. Oh my God, look at her. Look at that.
your
So
best
sweet.
friend.
I know. Ruby. Um, I always like to say that Max and Ruby is one of those shows. I remember when the first time I watched it, I thought it was so sweet because it's like, oh, oh, Ruby, someone's at the door. And then they walk like this. Like so, in any other show, it'd be like, well, can we get them to the door a little quicker? Nope. It's just like, oh, hi, doo-doo-doo. Come on in. And yet it was captivating. But it really, I used to laugh my head off because it was so funny. It's like, someone's at the door. Isn't it true?
Yeah, it
So
kind of,
gentle.
yes, you bring up a good point. It's kind of directed almost like Dora the Explorer, how they talk so slowly.
And yet it works, right? Because there's something, I don't know, there's just something so heartwarming about that show. And the fact that Max only really says one word or a one-word sentence. It's a really that was another one. It was so much fun to be a part of. I tried to make Louise as fun as possible to try and crack up my fellow actors mostly,
Hmm.
like Lana in particular, who was playing Ruby the last time we recorded. Yeah, we had a good.
And I remember Louise's kind of catchphrase. She would say this all the time. She'd be like, "Little brothers."
That's right. Yep.
Um, and another thing about Max and Ruby that always stuck out to me is the parents were never around until the final season. It's like, what
That's right.
happened? It's like, were they on vacation for 6 seasons? They were like, "Hi, kids, we're home."
Well, that's the big question, right? I remember on forums, parents were going like, "Where were they?" And they had to like just in the other room, and it's like, yes, they were just in the other room, and that's why they brought them back, and then they had another baby,
Hmm.
bunny baby. Yeah.
So anyway, moving along, this show is another very underrated show you're in. You're in Flying Rhino Junior High, where you voice Nose Cutlip.
Yes. What a fun show. I replaced. Oh my God, I've replaced an actress again. Look at me. You're going to say, what is happening to her memory? I know who she is, but I can't remember her name right now. I replaced someone who had to leave the show, who was the original Nurse Cutlip. So all I had to do was try and imitate her. Those are weird moments when you have to do that, that was a funny show.
Hmm.
Grateful for the opportunity.
Hmm. And were you in Blaster's universe?
I think that's another one where I think I might have done One or two guest roles. Yeah.
hmm that was another Larry Jacobs show at Nirvana. And
Yes.
fun fact, Larry would kind of use the ideas in that show along with Nirvana, and they would redevelop it into a very popular show, which I think you were also in, Cyber Chase.
Yes. Yes.
hmm
Yes. I played Shari Spotter in the original series of I think of Cyber Chase. That was quite a while ago, and I've done a number of other roles over the years.
hmm And legendary cast who had Jacqueline Pion and Anika Bonswin on that show.
Yep.
hmm and this is scraping the bottom of the obscure bin. I don't know if you remember this show, but this was also Larry Jacobs. Do you remember The Kid?
Oh God. Wow. I have this memory, but I couldn't tell you. I do remember. Was I in that? At any
Yeah.
event?
So
Wow.
you voiced Mrs. Campbell, who was an older lady, and the kid was voiced by Jacqueline Pion. And
Okay.
it was on Showtime.
Okay. I see. I have a memory, but it's one of the in those years, and with an unbelievable amount of gratitude, there was a lot of work, and so we would often be you know, running from one session to the other, one studio to the other. And so, sometimes in a day, I might have a bunch of small roles like that. And just one-ofs were, so forgive me if I don't remember. I sort of remember it, but it is not prevalent in my mind.
It's one of Nirvana's very few shows aimed at adults.
Mm, right.
hmm and you were also in one episode of Anne of Green Gables, the animated series, which I love that show because I'm a huge fan of Anne of Green Gables.
It's it's iconically Canadian and beautiful, yes.
Yeah, and you got to voice the fairy.
Again, I don't remember. Isn't that I know. I'm sounding like this is a great podcast, Julie. Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm here for. I'm here to bring all of the memories back to you.
Thank you. I'm going to walk away going, oh my God.
And this is another favorite show of mine that's super underrated. You're in Pekala
Yes. Miss Lucky.
with Cube TV.
Yes. That was a funny show. That was a great character as well.
hmm
I
Uh,
like that show a lot.
And that is a very popular book series, if you didn't know, in Japan. Even though, which is weird, it originated in Japan, but that wasn't ADR, was it?
No, it wasn't. No, it was an original show. Yeah.
And did you record Ensemble? Do you remember?
I didn't, because I was really always on the scene doing the reporting. I I kind of had my own thing, so maybe others did, but I was always just coming in going, "We're reporting live," right? So I was always on my own.
hmm And I think you were also in a few episodes of Angela Anaconda. Remember doing that
Yes,
show?
I was. I was Miss. What was her name? Oh, she's got a French name. I was a mother, and I had a Bunny Manoir, something like that. She had a southern accent, something like that. Yeah.
hmm And that was another show Richard was in, and he got to voice the teacher, Miss Briggs, and it was so funny because Mrs. Brinks had like it was a female character, and Richard voiced it.
I'm not surprised. I think there was a lot more, how do I put it? A lot more creativity in terms of that kind of uh, uh, sort of gender bender stuff back then, because I got to voice male characters as well in my career. So that's pretty cool.
Another good example, you got to voice Michael in Little People, Big Discoveries.
I did.
Mhm. And did you grow up with any of the Little People toys out of
I did.
curiosity?
I did. I think I had my brothers and I had a garage, right, with the like with some cars and the people. So yes, it was that was well known to me. But that's how old I am. They were wooden as opposed to plastic figures, right?
And the theme song, I can never get out of my head. It's like discovering morning, discovering fun.
Fun fact, Carolee Larson and Susan Roman and myself, we did, I think, 18 CDs singing kid songs for the Fisher Price label as Michael and um, my God, what are all the other characters? I can't remember their
There was
names.
Sonia Lee, there was
Anya
Eddie.
Lee
Mhm.
and Eddie's sister. We did 18, at least 18 CDs, singing a whole bunch of songs as the kids. Yeah.
It seems like I remember seeing those at my local Walmart back in the day, so that's funny.
Isn't that fun?
And I just love the animation style. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that was done by a local studio in Toronto, Cup of Coffee, which
Yes.
they did a lot of claymation stuff, and I love the claymation stuff.
Hmm.
Which brings us to our next show. You were in JoJo's Circus, and I have a plush of your character
Oh,
right here.
look at that. Hello, sweetheart. Oh my God. That was a fun show because I got to play Mrs. Spadinsky, the snake, and the elephant. So, and the little Spadinsky, baby Spadinsky.
Mhm.
That
Um,
was a fun show.
yeah, I remember you most as Dinky and Balboa. That was the snake's
Alpo,
name.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I think Dinky also kind of had the raspy voice a little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
Uh, I think so. I think it was again in that vein, but very innocent. I think he was very. I'm not going to try and do that voice because I'm going to mess it up. I think I can't fully remember. I kind of remember Balboa's more.
hmm and this show was by far one of Nelvana's most unique because it used both puppetry and animation. I'm of course talking about Elliot Moose is on the
Oh,
loose.
that was a fun show. Yeah,
hmm
yeah, yeah. Both animated and puppetry.
And you voiced Amy, who was it an anteater, I believe?
Aardvark. Yeah.
Aardvark, yes. So did was your character only in the animated segments, or did she appear in the puppet segments too?
So, pardon me a second. What I was told, she was meant to appear in the live action segment, but her head was too heavy.
Oh.
So they had to remove her. They couldn't figure out, that's what I was told, that the head, that the character, I wasn't obviously in playing in the live action, but they kept having a problem with the drooping head. That just came back to me. So her part got a bit smaller because of a drooping head.
Hmm. That's interesting. But I can kind of imagine because that would be a big head
Big,
to have.
you know. Well,
um,
and that's the difficulty, right? I've done shows where again in French early in my career where you're in a suit and um, it's hard if the suit isn't fully comfortable, like you guess you're struggling to see and so it can be a challenge, right? Especially when you draw it, it's really easy, but all of a sudden to put that big snout on someone without adding a whole bunch of weight would be really really hard.
mhm. And this is probably, I'm going to be honest with you. I say this a lot, but this is probably my favorite show you were ever in. I'm, of course, talking about Pelswick.
Oh, Julie Spockford. That was another one of those fun shows. And I remember one of the first times that then they reined us in, but they were like, just do it, Julie. Just go. And again, I played a character named Julie. Um, I was, I went crazy. Like I can't remember the character's name, but my best friend, we would fight constantly. And again, I was, in my career, when you said to me, fight, like yell, I was like, okay, not like, little. I would go full on, and then they'd be like, maybe it's a bit much. We're gonna pull it back. But I was a huge, still am, John Callahan fan, and so getting that show for me was um, was a dream come true. There's been a number of opportunities in my life, like Rupert, um, again, and this one, John Callahan, I think is an absolute genius. So that was it was a really great and a fun show to be a part of.
And you and Rob Tinkler on that show were like the perfect pair.
Yeah, I I've worked a lot with Rob over my career. He's extremely talented. Have you
Mhm.
had him on the show?
Yes, I've interviewed him as well. And I just want to give a quick shout out. So, a good friend of mine, she's a massive fan of Pelswick, and she has done so many good fan art. This is one of her
Oh,
pieces of fan art.
wow.
And her name is Michelle Massey, and she even cosplayed as your character Julie at one point.
That's so great.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Uh,
well done. Beautiful art.
and I'm curious. Obviously the show kind of didn't have a real ending. Do you think Julie and Pelswick will ever end up in the near future, end up together?
No, she's too high maintenance.
Oh, that's funny. Uh, this is another very underrated show and a very fun character you played. You were in King, where you played ex Princess Popular.
That was fun too. That we recorded. So just going back one sec. So Pelswick, I always recorded with someone
Mm-hmm.
and not full ensemble. Birds was full ensemble, by the way. Amazing. Pelswick, partial ensemble, and King, we recorded full ensemble. What a blast that was. What a great show.
Mm-hmm.
So the scripts were so well written.
And that was another show you got to do with Rob Tinkler, and Rob Tinkler
It,
voiced so many characters in that show.
yeah, really
Mm-hmm.
great show.
Um,
I mostly was the only woman. Is that true? Yeah. For much,
Stacy the Pass was in that show too.
yes, she was. But there were very few of us. It was mostly me and the guys. Yeah.
And I think you voiced Russell's mom in the show as well.
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm. And your character, ex Princess Popular, she was such a funny character. She had such a cool design. Like she had like these braces and like all these almost like zits on her face.
You know, the funny thing is, oftentimes in animation, sorry about that, my chair slipped. Sometimes we get a picture when we audition for a show and a character description, sometimes not, often not now. I'd never seen the character until I guess I did some ADR for it. And until it aired, and I went, oh my God, she's got braces? Because I would have done something different, right? In terms of giving her a little bit of a sibilance of some kind at some point. I had no idea she had braces until I saw the show. Isn't that funny?
That's so funny. And this is probably one of the biggest characters you voiced throughout your career in terms of like, franchise wise. You were Funshine Bear in the Care Bears.
The Care Bears movie, I love that movie. The music is so beautiful. Lots of music written by Jane Siberry. Um, yeah, it was so fun to play in that movie and to play Funshine Bear. And another one of my personal favorites. Yeah.
Was that another ensemble record, or did he have to do that one separately?
I recorded with a young woman who ends up being, I remember recording one session with a young woman, I can't remember her name or the character's name, who ends up being the princess of the kingdom, right? Who has the birthmark.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I recorded scenes with her and then with Adrian Truss as well, another great actor. Hi, Adrian. Um, and I think I might have recorded, yes, and I did another session with a bunch of the Bears. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this show, is probably one of my all-time favorites, but you only had a small role in the show. You're in Harry and his bucket full of dinosaurs, and I even have a statue of one of the characters on my
I
shelf
saw
back
that.
here. You voiced Miss Minus, I believe.
I also uh, voiced somebody's mom. Was it Harry's mom in an episode? I think. Pretty sure I did on the second one.
No, Susan Roman was Harry's mom.
I was somebody's mom in that show
Yeah.
for.
Um, and I've always wanted to ask you this because your name is in the credits for this. Did you sing the theme song?
I did. I did sing this. Yeah.
That is so cool because that's one of the catchiest theme songs of all
Well,
time.
cool.
You have a great singing voice, by the way, too.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
And were you also in Peep in the Big Wide World, which is another beautiful show?
I was. That's a weird show because I initially was one of the leads and then got replaced because that happens. And so it's a bit of a blur. I can't remember what I played on the show. How's that?
According to IMDb, you voiced the worm.
Okay. Again, no memory.
And you were also in a few episodes of 16, which is a very popular show that Nirvana did back in the day.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I voiced a couple of characters. Yeah, small roles.
hmm and of course, you were also in from the same creator as 16. You were in Total Drama Island. You did a couple characters in that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and who did he voice in Total Drama? Do you remember?
Nope, I don't remember. I do remember, however, who I voiced in Redonkulous Race, Jose, and oh, what's the other character's name? The mother of. Good God. Okay, so I don't know. Do you know the Redonkulous Race? You know that one?
Yeah, that was like the spin-off, wasn't it?
So
Mhm.
I played one of the ice dancers, Jose, and I played
Kelly.
Kelly. Thank you. Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I haven't seen much of the Redonkulous Race. I've seen more of the original, but
Right.
it was so cool hearing you in the Total Drama franchise, regardless.
It
uh,
was really fun.
mhm. And this show, you got to do a French accent going back to your origins. I'm, of course, talking about Jacob Tutu. What a great show that was.
Mhm. That was fun. That's another one. Like that's an iconic, truly iconic Canadian story. And yeah, it was really great to play Renee.
hmm and that was with the voice actor of Max. I don't know if he done an ensemble, but Jacob was voiced by Billy
I
Rosenberg.
I did work with Billy. Yeah, we
hmm
did. I mostly worked with him. Yeah.
hmm And can you still do the Renee voice? You'd be like Pipsqueak.
Pipsqueak. Ah, Tutu. What did I call? Ah, Pipsqueak. Ah, come on, Jacob. Yeah. I mean, that was really Renee. I am Renee. That is the voice.
I love that show, and that school you went to was absolutely insane.
Yes. Yeah.
And Principal Greedy Guts, that was Dwayne Hill, who also
Wayne
did
Hill.
a phenomenal
Yeah.
job. And I think
Yeah.
Fiona Reed was in that show as well.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was. Fiona's
hmm
done a lot of animation.
hmm and you were also in both Atomic Betty and Captain Flamingo, who were both
Hmm?
done by the same studio. Breakthrough.
Breakthrough.
Yep,
Hmm.
yep. You voiced a bunch of various voices in both of those shows.
Yes, I on Captain Flamingo, I voiced a character whose name I don't think I could pronounce for you, who spoke potato Patatsky language. Very funny. Like I didn't speak English. It was a made-up language. I can't remember what his name was. It was a very funny name, and I played another evil woman on Atomic Betty. Yeah.
hmm And thinking of villains, you voiced Mrs. Goof in Wayside, where you turned the entire class into apples.
Perfect, isn't it?
hmm
Apple for the teacher. Yeah.
hmm I think your character only appeared in one episode, though, which was a shame because Mrs. Goof was such a cool character.
Oh, thank you.
Was it fun playing her? Like, did you read any of the Wayside books before the show came out of curiosity?
I did not. No, no. I wasn't even familiar with the Wayside books at all when I auditioned.
Oh, okay. Okay. And you were also in Growing Up Creepy, which was another, really cool show, like super goth. It was a super goth
Hmm.
kind of show.
And that show, we recorded ensemble every week. Athena Karkanis as Creepy, David Burney, myself. It was fun playing Carolina, getting to play the mother, and yeah, I love that show.
And your husband was, of course, Drain Hill again.
Yes.
And I think you played the principal as well in that show, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. You know what's funny? That I don't even have a recollection of. There it is again. But you may be right. But I just remember playing Carolina.
hmm and were you in Babel at all? Maybe not the original,
I
but the
was.
reboot.
I played Hannah, a lioness.
Mhm.
Um, again, one of those characters in my lower register who was pretty fierce. She was a pretty fierce character. And I
Mhm.
also played in another, because there were many different iterations of Babar. I played a kid in another version before. I can't remember if it was before, and I can't remember the name of the character. A very young child, or a very young animal of some kind. I can't remember.
Mhm. And another kind of strange show you were in Jimmy Two Shoes. I think you only had a couple roles in that show again.
Yeah, that I couldn't even tell you what I got on that show. That's another one of those couple one episode parts. I don't remember. Good show
Mm.
though. I loved
Yeah, you were Judge Hone Fairy and the Panda Mom, according to
it.
IMDb.
Okay. Okay.
uh, and this show is really bizarre. You had like a main role in this show. You were in Almost Naked Animals.
Hmm. Batty. Yes. I was Poodle's henchman, if you want to call him that, henchbat. Fun character. Again, where I got to use a French accent.
Mhm,
And got to work with Ellison Court as my cohort.
mhm,
Very funny show. All of the directors, writers, like it was just that was another incredibly fun experience. That and same team really for Nunchucks. And both those shows were really fun.
And Batty, that's funny. That's another back character you voice besides Bones.
Isn't that funny? I know.
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
so funny. So you voiced two bats throughout your
Two
career.
bats in my career. Yep.
Well, a bat is a really cool animal, so you should be proud of yourself
I
then.
am proud. Bed bug, bat. What a career.
And this is probably one of the weirdest shows you'll ever in. You were in The Day My Butt Went Psycho.
Hmm. Yep, based on the books. Yep. I played the grandmother.
hmm Which it seems like you played a lot of grandmas also throughout your career.
I have.
Obviously you were Nunchucks, you were Grandma Butternut as well.
I have to say, I was recording at the same time, like literally in the same time frame. I was recording both of those shows. And I remember booking them both and thinking, I have to make both of these as unique as possible so that they don't sort of bleed into one another. Because I go to one and then go to the other and go, okay, how is this one different than the other? I mean, Nunchucks was way more cartoony. And she had a lot of peaks and valleys. And working with Andrew Jackson as who played my grandson, the lazy. That was such a fun show. And I also played Don Dingledash on that show. I have nothing but fond memories. Again, with any show, we can do a lot, actors, obviously, but it's all based on the writing. When you've got great writing, oh my God, you can really go to town and um, do a lot with that, you know.
Hmm.
And the writing on those shows was spectacular.
Hmm. And obviously, thinking of great writing, you're also in The Cat in the Hat, knows a lot about that. That's another show where Rob voiced about just about every character on the show.
Right, right.
Hmm. Do you remember who you voiced in that show?
I voiced a tiny elephant. What was her name?
Was it Clarabelle
That's not ringing a bell.
or Ziggy?
Mm, anything else? Maybe, maybe. Why do I?
Uh, it says you voiced Grayson as well. Uh, Twitch. None of those. Nope.
No, see, these are all other characters. But I remember in one, because there was, again, more than one season of that, I played a little elephant. Yeah. So I'm not sure.
Again, I'll edit it in later if I can find out which
Okay.
characters you're talking about. And you were also in a couple episodes of the Zuzu Pets, which is another favorite show of mine. Do you remember doing that?
Again, that was just tiny roles. I don't really quite remember what I played.
Hmm.
Sorry to disappoint. There's a
No.
lot, in a voice actor's career, if you're lucky, you have a lot of these. You've got the ones that are that will be your staples, where you're part of the show and you're recurring. But there's also equally as many incidental roles which uh, which make up a good more than half of your career. But many of them are like three, four lines sometimes, and so I don't remember a lot of them.
And a lot of other voice actors I've interviewed are the same way. Their memories are kind of, faded on those
It's
incidentals.
not because we did a lot of drugs, just so you know.
Yeah. Excuse me. And this one, you should remember because it was a major role throughout this show. You were in Clifford the Big Red Dog, the new one, and he
Mhm.
voiced Tucker the dog.
I love Tucker. I love Tucker. I based Tucker's voice. This is going to sound crazy, but my dog passed away about a year ago. Oh, I based Tucker on my own dog. My dog had the enthusiasm of Tucker, and so it wasn't easy. I didn't have to stretch too far. Not that my dog spoke to me in that way, in other ways. But yeah, it was like I just went, all right, that's Maddie. And so it was so fun to do that show and to get to sing. And again, we recorded ensemble. Such a talented group of actors. Hannah, who played Emily Elizabeth, amazing actress, amazing singer, and Adam, who played Clifford. And it was such a great cast, and again, well written scripts, really fun.
Mm. And Tucker again had such an adorable voice. It kind of had kind of almost not quite as raspy as Bounce of Sleepy Bat, but it was up there.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, a combination of kind of being up and yet with a bit of the raspy edge to it. Yeah, and
mhm,
a lot of enthusiasm.
mhm. And I believe he voiced Miss Mulberry in that show as well.
I did, yes. Yeah.
Hmm. Again, a lot of mom characters as well throughout your career.
Yeah, the smaller, like I was, well, other than growing up creepy, I haven't really been a lot. I've been more the wacky characters, I'll say, or the evil characters, but I haven't been a lot of the regular mom, if you know what I mean. It's just that's not been what I got cast as. So when I did get those, it'd be like, okay, I get to use my voice, let's say.
Hmm. And thinking of Clifford, you were also in Otho, where you voiced Bud, and Otho is another very popular show based off of a very popular book. How did it feel working on, Otho for that short period of time?
Oh, that was great. I Crystal Meadows played my sister. So we, of course, were the new next door neighbors from Louisiana. And, you know, as the world of animation has changed a lot, and so women used to, another fun fact, play a lot of the kids' roles, right? So both male and female kids' voices were historically, let's think of Bart Simpson, voiced by women. And then that changed at some point in the early 90s, I think. And so now it's rare that we will do the voice of children, except if they're not a kid. So, in other words, an inanimate object, a truck, or an animal, right? So getting to do Bud on that show, but of course Arthur had adults playing a lot of the kids because they played. That's a show that some of the voice actors played the same role for the entire 20 some odd years of the show. Crazy, isn't it? I came in the later iterations, but yeah, so getting to, because it's not a child, it's a child, an animal child, I got to play Bud. But it's always been a great joy for me to do boys' voices. I grew up with two brothers, so they were my inspiration.
That's very neat. And another show you did, you were in Globies, you voiced Mayor Mary.
Yep.
And that was a very fun show too, because I think you got to work with Andrew Sabiston on that show, who's another voiceover legend. I interviewed him as well.
Hmm. Yes. And I also voiced blah, blah, blah. There's another part on that show, the really cute one that has an umbrella and floats up. I can't remember what his name is now. Yeah, that's a very sweet show, very beautifully animated.
Was it Drippy?
Drippy, that's right. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, that was a sweet character, Drippy.
That is absolutely adorable. And you were also in the Snoopy show, and that had to be, a dream come true because,
Oh my.
the Peanuts, such a legendary, comic strip,
Mm.
and you probably grew up with the Peanut specials. How
For
did it feel
sure. For
getting
sure.
booked on that show?
I immediately, speaking of brothers, called my brothers and said, "You won't believe this," and they were like, "No way!" The Christmas, like millions upon millions of people, the Christmas special in our home um, was still is, required viewing at least once over the holiday season, and it just Charles Schultz is just a master, so it feels, yeah, it was like a dream come true. Um, and to get to work with, I don't know if you know either of these people, but Sean Cullen and David Burney. And
I
of
know
course,
both of them.
I was in the room recording ensemble with them. That is quite, that was quite fun and insane. And then, of course, Rob and Terry McGurran voicing Snoopy and Woodstock and Snoopy. Pretty, just amazing. Yeah, and I think they've they've done a beautiful job with the shows. It's had many. It probably, I hope, will go on for many, many, many more years to come.
Hmm. So you're still doing it today, is what you're saying?
I there's these things called NDAs, and so I'm not at liberty to discuss.
Understandable. Okay. And by the way, Sean Cullen, true voiceover legend. He was in a show called Seven Little Monsters. I don't know if you were in that show.
I
Uh,
did an episode of that. Yeah.
he voiced just about every single character in that show.
No, he's a very talented man and a very funny man.
Hmm. And you also got to do Paw Patrol, Paw Patrol.
I did. I was a cat initially, and then I voiced Tilly Turbot, Captain Turbot's mother.
Mhm. And again, did you kind of like going back to Sailor Moon? Did you ever imagine, how popular Paw Patrol would be? Like they have like multiple movies now. It's insane.
That's the funny thing about, well, all entertainment really, but I've been on shows that I won't name that where there was like in the recordings this kind of buzz where you could feel like an attitude that, well, you're going to be so excited to have been part of the show because it's going to be huge. Beep. And then other shows where you're like, it's just it seems like just any other show, and it becomes a huge, huge, huge show. You don't know. I mean, and that is the beauty of life. We don't know. You don't know. No matter how much money or hard work you put into something, is not a guarantee that it's going to go viral. But Paw Patrol sure did in a big way.
Hmm. And I have a couple of the shows I wanted to bring up. This show I forgot to bring up. You were in Pandolin, and I wanted to ask you about that show. Was that ADR?
It was ADR, Pandalien. Yeah, that
Alien.
was I I played Toby. So Toby was the main panda. I've had a couple again, like Spider Riders, where I played the lead guy, and the same with Pandalien. Pandalien's another one of those shows. It's pretty obscure. I don't know. I don't think anyone's ever brought that up. But an interesting show. It was fun to record.
And I'm shocked not more people bring it up because it's adorable. And your lead character, you were the lead character in that show. You were Toby.
Yes, I was. Yeah.
And do you remember how long that went on for? Did it go on for long? Or
It had I just the one season that I recorded, and we recorded on a tight time frame, so we did a bunch of episodes. It was dubbing. I think I recorded that in the summer. Like it was done very quickly, which you can do, of course, with dubbing because it's already pardon me, in the can. It's already shot, and so once you've got the scripts and it's all translated, you can get them done fairly quickly.
Mhm. And did you narrate the Mo Sisters? Because it credits you as doing that on IMDb.
Wow. Boop, 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 boop. I don't know. How's that again? Here I am. Such an amazing interview, Julie. You've just knocked it out of the park. I don't remember. How's that?
Okay, all right,
I
no
didn't even know
problem.
what the Mole Sisters is. How's
So
that?
I think that's just a miscredit on IMDb because this is my joke about IMDb. You know what the highest rated movie on IMDb is? It's The
What's
Lion King because it's the king of lyings. Get it?
that? It's a good one.
And lastly, I've saved the show for last because this character probably had the most range out of you. If I'm gonna be honest, you voiced Aloha in My Little Pony.
Hmm. That was um, that was amazing. Again, I know I keep saying this thing, but uh, for a villain, what an unbelievably well-written character, and with so many peaks and valleys, and and of course, the song that I got to sing was amazing. I'm just very saddened that that got cut short, and because there was more to come, and you didn't quite get to see the redemption, but that's that's life, right? We
Mhm.
don't control what we don't control, but I was very grateful for the role, and I'd have to say that's probably my favorite villain that I've ever played. Yeah.
And I just loved the voice you did for her. Like she had such a cool voice. It was so distinctive, and it definitely stood out in my opinion from all of your other voiceover roles.
Thank you. Thank you. I like again, that was one of those, when you're auditioning for a show, sometimes, not always, but it's always nice to have a hook, something that so when it said she purrs and puts people, that was the in the initial episodes and puts people into a trance, I was like, you know, that just came to me and then I built the voice around that, right?
hmm And you, of course, had your bunny sidekick who was Rob Tinklow, who was always
Again.
just bouncing off the walls.
Yes, pretty funny.
One of
We
my
didn't
favorite.
work together though.
Oh, that was kind of after COVID a little bit. So,
That was solo work in my closet. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a shame. I miss, the old times. I'm sure everyone does.
Oh, more than you'll ever know. I think there's in the industry because all the auditions have gone to self-tapes, and there's a loss of creativity that wasn't there before. We, again, as I said before, we're social animals. And we respond to immediacy. So you say, oh no, change that or go in this direction. I can immediately respond. When I'm alone in my little closet, uh, you're just throwing spaghetti at a wall and you're not sure, is it sticking? Is it not? It's much, much harder.
And one of my favorite episodes with Aloha, I don't know if you remember this one. There was an episode with Izzy that was Anasani's character. She kept trying to be Aloha's best friend. She brought her
Yes.
a bunch of fruit baskets. That was so funny.
Funny. That was a very funny episode. Like,
it,
please. I know.
and obviously, you're probably well aware of the popularity of Friendship is Magic, which used the Vancouver cast. And
Mhm.
I noticed that you have an agent, Ralph, with Red Talent in Vancouver.
I
Uh,
do.
and I was wondering if you ever auditioned for Friendship is Magic.
No, by the time, so this was what brought me to Vancouver. During COVID, I was working from my closet here in my apartment in Toronto, and I thought, and my best friend moved to Vancouver, and I thought, why don't I explore Vancouver? So I had two home studios and two apartments, one in Vancouver, one in Toronto, and I broke into the Vancouver market, did a couple of shows there, but decided to come back to Toronto. Um, but at that point, My Little Pony was already now in Toronto.
Mhm.
And that's when I got, right around that time, that's when I got Alira.
hmm And obviously, Ellie Way, who I've also interviewed, total legend. She's also represented by Ralph as well.
Yeah, she is. And Tabitha Saint Germain,
Oh,
who I got to work with a long, long time ago on Rupert. She's an amazing actress. So uh, there's a legend from Vancouver, and she left Toronto and went to Vancouver and made an incredible career for herself. So
but probably at that time she was known as Paulina Gillis.
look at you, you're on it. Yes, she was.
And I'm curious, have you ever worked with or met Kathy Westlock? Because she kind of reminds me of you a little bit. You both have
Yeah.
that same style of voiceover.
No, I have not, but I know of her work. Absolutely, she's great. But no, I've never met her.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, let's go ahead and wrap it up. We went through just about your entire resume, I would say. But one other question I had, since you've done so much work for Nirvana, what were some of your memories of recording at Studio 306, since that was the main studio Nirvana used?
So my first animation records were at 306. That's where I recorded Rupert. Um, Tintin was recorded at a different studio, but um, I would say I also 306 was in is in Cabbagetown, an area of Toronto, and I lived in Cabbagetown for 15 years. So I would just walk. It was like my hood. It felt like home. Already 306 felt like home to me. The bulk of my career was done there. It was called 306 at the time. It's called then the Coach House. Loved it there. It felt, and every time we walked in, there was for auditions or a job, it felt alive. And multiple sessions going on at once. Bob Cobbin, I'm doing a shout out to one of the best engineers, and then Jeff Wright, who, pretty much recorded the shows there and were both magnificent and Bob taught me a lot about, microphone etiquette. Because, when you're new in the business, you don't know what you don't know. And yeah, it still is. It's different now because the industry is different now, but I owe a debt of gratitude, so I'll say this to 306 and to Deb Toffin, who gave me my first gig.
Mhm. And how did it feel, being such a huge part of Nirvana, being in just about every show they've ever done?
Well, thank you for, I think, overselling me, but uh, I'm not gonna lie, I cried when I got the news, as many of us did. Like for so many of us here in Toronto, Nelvana, we owe our careers to Nelvana. The number of shows that I've done there, it was where those of us who were lucky enough to work in what I'll consider the heyday of animation here, uh, Nelvana was our home. And then, of course, Cookie Jar and Nine Story and all the other wonderful places. But Nelvana for me is, the home of Rupert and everything that came after. Um, it's sad, but I feel um, I I have to hope and pray that animation isn't that isn't the end of animation story in Canada, and that a great story that we all live to hear great stories. And the most important thing is that animation, and I know some people will say, well, I don't let my children watch that. Fair enough. Let's leave that aside. For most of us, is the first thing that we get to see that gets to shape a young mind. And so it's more than just entertainment. It's more than just, well, that was a fun show. I've always tried to strive to create characters that will obviously inspire children, but also to, how do I put this? It's important to also be cognizant of the fact that that the entertainment industry and that animation plays a very important role in shaping young minds, and to be aware of how we do that. But more like, so if that's gone,
Mhm.
then what will replace it? We're now going to go, because we're going shorter and shorter form, less than 5 minutes. Pretty soon it'll be 1 minute. Um, our attention spans are getting smaller, which I don't think is a great thing. Don't want to end this on a bad note, but all that to say, I took it as as a, well, it just was one of the saddest days of my career.
Mhm. I totally understand. Nirvana was a huge part of not only my childhood, but so many others. And I just wanted to say, kind of piggyback off of what you said. That's what I hope to do someday if I ever become a voice actor. What I want to do is, I want to inspire someone. I hope to someone who went through similar struggles that I did will come up to my table at a convention and say, your work, blah, 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 has inspired me in some way.
Well, and that's. we all hope that the work that we do in this life is impactful in some way and that people respond to it and that we can, build people up and instead of breaking them down in some ways. There's too much of that in this world. The world needs more good. Um, Truly epic in cartoon land. The world needs more good instead of evil.
Mm-hmm.
And and yeah, it's I have to admit I've not really done the Comic Cons. I'm a pretty private person, which is why you had to chase me down hard. But appreciated their tenacity, and so I went, okay. Um, but I understand the need for them as well. But we need shows. We need, it's clear that given the number of people at Comic Cons and the success of the Comic Cons, that there's that, but you need the shows, you need the product. It's clear that there's a want, a desire for great stories to be told.
Mm-hmm. That is amazing. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up with that being said. But I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to do this, Julie. And
My pleasure.
you're truly an inspiration on us all.
Thank
And
you.
it was such a pleasure getting to talk with you today because you've
Great
probably
talk.
been since in the almost 2 years since I've started this podcast, you've probably been one of the most heavily requested persons to interview on this podcast.
Oh, thank you. Well, that you're making my day and warming my heart. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being here.
Mm-hmm.
Keep doing you.
Thank you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too, Gabe.